Welcome back to the show, everyone. Good to have you here. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how Islam is being utterly destroyed by the internet, because as Muslims are leaving the protective bubbles of their caliphates, their Sharia law societies, and entering into the West, where there still is a shred of free speech and access to information online, criticizing Islam, these Muslims are realizing that their entire worldview is false. And so we're going to be watching this video clip. Let's go.
The internet is killing Islam.
How so?
People are getting this information out.
Lines with Aquinas. This show.
This show
and
right
David
here.
Wood and you and
Yeah, God Logic.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you mean it's killing Islam? I mean, you have these arguments being presented. Is that the basic point?
That's part of it. But think of the psychology. So the more of it. Islam teaches they're meant to be a dominating, conquesting religion. They're meant to go out and take over the world. It's theirs. They can't right now. They're being dominated by the West. We have turned Islamic countries into our dhimmis, so to speak. They work for the United States. I mean, look at like Saudi Arabia. They just, when we start attacking Iran, they do our bidding. That's just, and so to them, they have this inferiority complex because their holy book says they're supposed to be dominating the world. It says they're supposed to be dominating.
Okay.
They're not. So they're going, well, okay, I can't drink alcohol, I can't eat pork, I can't dance, I can't listen to music. What am like? It's psychologically upsetting them because they're supposed to be dominating. The West is dominating them, so it bothers them. So people are worried about Islam taking over. I am too. I think we need to fight this and do something about it. But there's a brighter picture also in this as well. So I looked at the numbers. The non-Muslim birth rate, global non-Muslim birth rate is 2.2.
Okay.
The Muslim birth rate is 2.9. So you go, oh no, hold up. There's also some Muslim imams will admit 24 to 26% of youth are leaving Islam. There's clips online of them, these different imams saying we're dealing with an avalanche of apostasy.
Really?
Some guy going, 24% of Muslim youth are leaving Islam. Now do the numbers.
Now, is that because of hedonism and all sorts of?
It's secularism.
Your point is it doesn't matter. They're leaving.
They're leaving. Yeah, it's a little bit. People are wrestling with the contradictions in the Quran, like the Islamic dilemma. They're wrestling with the inferiority of their civilization, the superiority of the West, the moral problems of Muhammad does bother them a lot. The fact that he did that, yeah. So, but do the math. If you take 75% of 2.9, it's going to get you to around 2.2. But if you add that 25% to the 2.2, the non-Muslim birth rate, that's going to make it a little bit higher. So based on those projections, if 24 to 26% of youth are leaving Islam, they're not going to take over. There just isn't. Now, we as Christians need to get our birth rates up for sure. We need to combat secularism for sure. That's a problem. But at least on this, they're not projected to take over like they thought.
But it's almost like we're talking about four different things. We're talking about Christianity per se, and then the cultures that are traditionally Christian, which have become depraved.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about Islam per se, and then the culture that inculcates in people. So even if people are apostatizing from Islam, that doesn't mean they're not bringing in their particular culture into Western countries when they migrate, right?
Well, you would think that, but I mean, again, what's the superior culture right now? It's Western civilization.
As far as force is concerned, yes.
As far as I've seen, I've not seen an ex-Muslim that is like, yeah, I'm still culturally Muslim. No, they want to become Westerners. I think one of the good things we need to remember is what we know is that Christianity really has saturated the world in its culture. People think like Christians, even if they don't realize it, whether you're Muslim or not. I mean, like, this is why people are so bothered by the moral problems of Muhammad today. And they weren't 1,000 years ago, because Christianity has saturated our culture and made it implemented in our brains that having sex with children is wrong. The ancients didn't think like that. The Greeks, the Romans.
I'll just pause it here. Just a very important point. Actually, 1,000 years ago, people still had issues with the moral nature of Muhammad, because Christianity was already around for 1,000 years, and it had already moved away from cousin marriage and child marriage within the Byzantine Empire. That's for certain. That there was death sentences for rape, marriage, minimum age was raised, moving away from cousin marriage. This is what Christianity did from basically day one. So by the time Muhammad came along, you already had, Christian emperors and saints and church fathers already condemning this kind of thing. So just a minor thing there. No, actually 1,000 years ago, even from the day one of Islam, what Muhammad was doing was morally reprehensible. He broke like all the 10 commandments, right? So that goes back even further. So that's just one minor point of disagreement there.
The scholar John Martins notes that early Christians like coined a new term that meant child corrupter, because they didn't want to use the traditional term that meant child lover. So they coined a new Greek term meant child corrupter. And they really started pushing this culture that having sex with children is wrong, which wasn't the norm in the ancient pagan culture. And in Islam, it was normal as well to have sex with children. And why do we now think that's all evil? It has everything to do with Christianity changing the culture.
So even this dying culture in which we live is running on the fumes of Christianity when it condemns things like slavery and child and racism. And
the only reason slavery's gone is because of Christianity.
All right, I just thought that was such an important video clip to share because yes, there is this huge Islamic invasion taking place all across the West, all across Europe. They are building thousands of mosques. The crime rates have gone through the roof. Prisons all across Europe are being filled with predominantly Muslims. The sexual violence, the theft, the destruction, the dirtiness of these cities has gone up with this mass influx of immigration from North Africa and the Middle East. We are seeing the huge rates of inbreeding, of female genital mutilation, of forced marriages, of child marriages, of jihad and terrorism and everything else that has gone along with it. And we've seen Western societies, cities and towns get worse with more Islamic immigration. It really isn't offering anything to the West. And what's interesting is that this invasion, this encroachment is also happening the other way in a more silent manner. We are seeing that as the Islamic world has left the protective bubble of those Sharia societies, of those caliphate systems, and have started to mix with the West, either online or in person, they're starting to see the superiority of Western civilization, which is built on the cultural inheritance of over 1,000 years of Christian values and teachings. And they're starting to realize, actually, everything that their societies have been doing for centuries, all their ancestors, their belief system, is not offering the world anything but destruction, chaos, instability, volatility, one terror group after the next, one dictator after the next, violence for women and children. And these are terrible societies to live in. And I think this is deeply humiliating for these Muslims. And so if there's any Muslims watching this, just know I deeply love you. I make these videos because I want to help you. And this is the best way I know how. I want your societies and your people to do better and to get rid of this yoke of Islam, which is destroying everyone. It's destroying people's lives in Islamic countries. And as that's coming to the rest of the world, it's destroying those societies as well. And that Islam is not the superior final teaching, because wherever it goes, it just brings death and destruction. And every Islamic country truly does suck. And I can say that as someone who's traveled through Islamic countries, who has lived in Islamic country. And so I do these videos to help them. So anyway, I thought it was a great clip. If you want to support the show and help me make these videos and get around some of the YouTube restrictions on my show, then I would ask you to go and visit the merch link down below. We've got hoodies, t-shirts, hats, mugs. Go check them out and subscribe to the show if you haven't already. And I'll speak to you in the next one. God bless.